For the past 2 years, the Democrat-controlled Congress had practically no interest in pro-life legislation. But when America spoke out in the last election, it opened up at least the possibility of moving the ball forward. This is the CitizenLink Report. I'm Stuart Shepard along with Ashley Horne, our federal issues analyst. Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Stuart.
As you look at the Capitol, describe how different it is now compared to what it was just a month ago.
It is very different, even down to the fact that Republicans now get bigger offices. The outside groups that want to meet with Republicans can actually get more than like a water closet, so we're excited about that. So it is very different from a practical legislative perspective. You're going to see a lot of pro-life bills coming through, and we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, and comparing the new speaker to the last speaker is like night and day.
Very much night and day. Speaker Boehner is very well respected among the ranks, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do.
All right, let's talk about legislation that we might see coming up. What is catching your eye that's coming up on Capitol Hill?
Probably the biggest thing we're seeing right now is it's called the No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act. And what that is our funding restrictions on abortion are going to be packed into one bill. We usually call them pro-life riders. They're attached to spending bills. One of them is the Hyde Amendment that usually restricts funding for abortion domestically. Another one that restricts funding for abortion overseas. We have the Dornan Amendment that restricts funding for abortion in the District of Columbia. And that's a really important one, even though it's packaged in with other ones, because that one was one that got rolled back by the Democrats last time around. So those riders have always been on the chopping block, so you're going to see the Republicans really come out and say, you know what, we want to put that package of spending restrictions back together.
Okay, well, let's dig through these just one at a time and go through them. The No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act pretty much does what it says.
Right, no taxpayer funding for abortion. Anywhere we can find it, we're restricting it. It would be a great thing to see this go through. If it doesn't, you'll probably see a piecemeal approach, one by one, these pro-life riders trying to get them permanently into law.
Okay, let's talk about those riders. What kind of things do those limit? What do they keep money from going toward?
Hyde Amendment, let's take that one. That's probably the most important one. The Hyde Amendment restricts funding for abortion domestically, so no tax dollars can go for abortions, to pay for abortions, except in very rare cases. That's a great one. That one's also been on the chopping block. Republicans are eager to see that one be preserved.
Okay, and the Dornan Amendment, which we're likely to hear talked about on the news over the coming weeks.
The Dornan Amendment is the one that was rolled back by Democrats last Congress. It was really disappointing. That's the one that restricts funding for abortion just in the District of Columbia. Congress is the one who appropriates all the funds for D.C., so whether they're tagged as local funds, federal funds, it's all money that comes from tax dollars. And so they've been able to use tax dollars to pay for abortion in D.C., and we want to make that go away.
Now, I think it's important to explain. I know this seems a little confusing because there are so many different approaches that are coming up here. Most people watching would probably think, why not just go for the whole thing and pass this No Taxpayer Funding for Abortion Act and just knock it all out? There is that other little chamber in the Congress.
There is that other little chamber that is still controlled by the other party. And so there is some pro-lifers in the Senate, not a lot, but we have to remember we've still got Democrats controlling the Senate and the White House. So that's very important. As great as it is to have the House be controlled by more conservatives, pro-family conservatives, we've still got another chamber to deal with.
Okay, how do we keep track of all these as they go rolling through?
You can go to CitizenLink.com and make sure that you're keeping up to date with our website, and we write about it all the time. We're blogging, trying to keep track. So.
All right. I want to give you just a second to explain why it's so important. These all seem to be dealing with funding of this and blocking of that and all. When you step back and look at the larger picture, why is it so important to put this pro-life legislation into play at the Capitol?
You know, it's important because, number one, we've had these bills, these pro-life funding restrictions, they haven't even been able to get a hearing, let alone getting a vote. So we've had pro-life bills that have been stalled for the last couple years. This is really exciting time. At least in the House, you're going to see some pro-life bills actually getting hearings, people coming in to debate, maybe perhaps even votes. That's an exciting thing. And then, of course, we just want to make sure that pro-life legislation, pro-family legislation is getting a voice. We know it's not going to be easy, but it is going to be a little easier now that this Congress is in session.
So at least a glimmer of hope.
Little glimmer.
And the other aspect of this, which I think is important to point out, all funding bills come out of the House.
They do.
So they're going to begin there, and that's where these limits can be placed on what the federal government can do in terms of abortion, and then it goes over to the Senate to be picked picked apart.
And
everything.
normally the House is a little more feisty. They have more room to really kind of get in there and do what they want, make the bills a little more detailed, maybe make the restrictions a little broader. You'll see Mike Pence coming out with his defunding of Title X, which is a huge provider of money to Planned Parenthood. You'll see ultrasound bills coming up. So it's going to be an exciting session.
All right. Anything else you'd like to share before I let you go?
You know, we would love to just tell people to pray. I mean, that's a really big thing. It might sound trite, but it really matters. People need to be praying for their lawmakers, whether they're Republican or Democrat, praying for the people that are working on the Hill. We work a lot with staffers. So that would be a great thing.
All right. Well, thank you, Ashley, for the
Thank
work you're doing and for your efforts on the Hill. And thank you for watching. You may always write to us and share your thoughts, your opinions, your questions at mail@citizenlink.com. We encourage you to pray for our elected officials, as Ashley just mentioned, and pray for their wisdom and their clarity of thinking as they sort through all of this. And remember, stand tall and be heard.